Hey everyone. Last week, my video focused on the significant revisions to the employment numbers that the Bureau of Labor Statistics recently released. But the BLS also released information on average hourly earnings, also referred to as wage growth. And those earnings numbers tell a very important story for commercial real estate investors. On a year-over-year basis through January, average hourly earnings increased by 3.7%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but consider that inflation increased by 2.7% over the last year through December. So wages have been outpacing inflation. In fact, wages have outpaced inflation for the last 32 months. From December 2022 through December 2025, wages have increased by 12.4% compared to a 9% increase in CPI. So even though people are feeling the impact of inflation, in net, incomes are still gaining ground compared to rising costs. And one of the other topics people talk about a lot is housing affordability, particularly apartment rents. In the last year, for someone working 40 hours a week, 3.7% wage growth translated to a monthly income gain of about $230. In contrast, rents went up by 1.5%, which is about $28 per month. And wages have been outpacing rent growth since the second quarter of 2023. So in that time, apartment rents have increased by about $66 a month, while wages for full-time employees increased by a little over $700 per month on average. Now, I understand that not everyone has experienced that level of income growth. It's an average for the country. But in general, apartment rents have become more affordable over the last few years, at least when measured as a percentage of income. So my point here is that despite the rhetoric, the affordability of apartment housing has been getting better, not worse. And the influx of multifamily development in numerous markets has actually put downward pressure on rents. All of this implies that people's discretionary income, basically the money they have left over after they've paid for necessities like housing and utilities, has been increasing. And that has been supporting increased consumption, increased retail sales, and increased savings. Some consumers are under pressure, I have no doubt about that. But on average, American households' ability to fuel consumption and economic growth remains positive. And that implies demand for retail space and industrial space, as well as apartment housing, is sustainable. There are bumps in the road, and low consumer sentiment is restraining spending to a degree. But if and when consumer sentiment increases, it could unlock increased consumption and economic growth. And that in turn could spur job creation, housing demand, and space demand for other types of commercial real estate. So looking forward, I still see tremendous potential for improving commercial real estate fundamentals if and when consumer sentiment improves. That is the trigger that investors should be watching. That's the signal for investors who keep their eyes on the horizon.